Hi everyone. So we have an action plan today from Tierras Altas Middle School. It's part of a whole DataWise journey that was carried out by the English department of the middle school, which are grades 6 through 8. So for our activity today, we'll be using the PLUS and DELTA protocol. So for PLUS, we'll look at some of the strengths of this action plan, and for DELTA, we'll look at some areas where we'd like to give some feedback and maybe they could make some changes.
Great.
Okay, so I think we'll move on to saying we can start with some pluses.
I think there's a clear learner-centered problem that they articulate. I like how it's right up at the beginning so that you're grounded in that when you're seeing this action plan. And then the problem of practice is, it's a real problem of practice. It begins with as teachers, it's clear what they've decided the teachers are doing that is contributing to the learner-centered problem. And again, it's helpful that that's right up front at the very top of this action plan.
They're connected.
Yeah.
I really, I thought it was a strength that each task followed directly from the task before it. It seemed, they say, plan professional development on using role-playing. The next task is engage in professional development, incorporate the strategy that they learned in professional development. So it was very clear to me that they really thought about what action would go next.
Yeah.
And they're being very deliberate about doing a lot of different steps and not forgetting the step of coming up with the assessment early on of how they're going to assess whether their action plan is making a difference.
That was great.
That's definitely a plus.
I liked how there seemed to be a consistent role for Shannon, that she's in every action step. I do wonder about that and if there's a way to maybe also distribute a little more of the leadership, but I'll save that for my deltas. But it seems like Shannon is very involved.
I think another plus for me on that topic is, so for example, in the incorporate role-playing strategy into each grade's unit, Shannon is leading that, but then Jermaine and Kirsten are not like team leads, and they're also taking that active role in planning the unit. So I think I can see some clear work to try to distribute some of the major tasks to other teachers, not just the department chair and the literacy coach.
Yeah, I was very happy to see some of the DataWise strategies in this action plan. For example, examining instruction was very evident in these bottom two rows.
Right.
So maybe this is a good time to move into some deltas. And of course, if you still have pluses, you can say them.
Well, I was tempted to say this as a plus. It's sort of both, a plus and a delta. On the plus side, it looks like there's a pretty quick pace going, so they're not sitting on their haunches. They're going to be, they're ambitious about moving from step to step, and they're really holding themselves to that. The delta of that is I'm just wondering if they're building in enough time to do this in a meaningful way. For example, the act of developing the assessment that's going to allow them to track improvements. If there is an assessment like that in place, that could take more than just one meeting. So I'm wondering, it looks like that's happening during 1 week. I'm wondering if if they have the full common planning time, if there's more than that needed.
Or maybe a professional development day.
Yeah.
Right.
Or if those teachers will then just have to use all their free blocks where they might want to be planning to do this one task. It might be a lot to ask of, two teachers.
Right. Right. I guess along those lines, I was wondering if it would be useful to have a column here that indicates in what context is this work going to happen? Is it all happening in common planning time? Is it all happening?
Oh, like a where column.
Where column.
Right.
Oh, that's a great idea. Why? No, we don't need
Why is it
that.
happening?
The Y is at the top.
Right.
Just to build on the idea of needing a little bit more specificity, it says plan PD and engage in PD, and I am really curious, what is the design of that PD? Are they going to be engaging them in watching some more videos or reading resources or common planning for these units that they're going to be teaching this strategy. So I'd really love to see a little bit more detail under what does it mean to plan and engage in PD.
Yeah.
And some of that would come across if there's the where, because then we'd know, is that happening in a team meeting? Is that happening in a whole staff meeting?
So before we wrap up, does anyone have any other pluses or deltas to add?
Well, I have a delta, and it's also a wondering, and it's about where Kyle is in this action plan.
Yeah, I was noticing that too.
When you told us about who was on the team, we had a team member who doesn't appear at all, and it balances out my comment about Shannon. It seems like Shannon is in here a lot, and Kyle is not in here at all. So I would wonder why that is.
It's a great point.
Yeah.
So it sounds like we have some really great feedback to give the English team implementing this journey. And so thank you for all of your participation today.